One day, back in the vehicle. You know.
All right, well, thank you, everybody. Thanks for a long road through the campaign, and I really appreciate the schoolhouse, most of all, for providing the place and agreeing to allow all these candidates to come. I appreciate all the candidates. Thank you, Roy Miller. Even though you're unopposed and you are the last one on the ticket, we do appreciate you providing this opportunity. While the room is not filled, when it does go online, the community watches. I checked stats today, and about half of registered voters, about 1,500 people, watched the videos this year. Some of them got more than others, but I think it's a good format, and I hope that it continues in the future with the community because I think it's really informational. And on that, you host your own, and the floor is yours.
And thank you to this lady for
Absolutely.
doing all this.
No, it means a lot. My name's Roy Miller. I am going to be your next county attorney. Deb decided not to run, and I've been asked by more than one person that has run into me at Murdoch's, that I run into people all the time. Because I'm constantly going to Murdoch's for feed for my horses, is why are you bothering going to these events if you're running unopposed? And my answer is that everybody has the right to meet who is running for office, whether they're opposed or not. And you have the right to ask questions about concerns that you have about law enforcement, about the justice system, about the challenges that are being faced here in Mineral County. I can tell you that in part of my career, which has spanned a little over 30 years, almost 31 now, part of that was in a county that was very small in comparison to other counties in my state. We were an impoverished county. We were a meth-infused county, a violent county. And my experience as a prosecutor was in that county. It was Lake County, California. My first case, walking into the office, first day I was handed a file, and I asked what that was, and they said it's a attempted murder, arson, domestic violence case. It's going to trial in 15 minutes. That was the start of my career as a prosecutor. So what I'm bringing here to Mineral County is 30 years of experience in the criminal justice system, both in prosecution and defense, and that gives me a sense of context and perspective, because in that period of time, laws have changed, human behavior hasn't changed. So the question is, how do you best tackle the problems in your community when you're dealing with some very basic sets of problems in humanity? Addiction is obviously one of them. Poverty is another. And the two tend to feed off of each other, at least in my experience in working in smaller counties that had missed the big tech booms that have happened, and they aren't on the coast, so they don't have access to the coasts. For a lot of reasons, have experienced financial renaissances that the interior have not. And Mineral County lost its lumber mill, and the lumber industry has gone down, and we have 7 or 8% of the county that is private, so the ability to develop private business is very limited. And at the same time, you have one of the most heavily trafficked highways in the United States to go right through the entire width of this county. And as we all know, that brings with it its own set of challenges that we've seen time and again. What my plan on in approaching the justice system in this county is, first, my intent is to triage. I've tried 3 times now to talk to Deb Jackson, who's our current county attorney. She's obviously busy. The 2 times we were at GOP-related meetings that are monthly meetings at Superior, and she left before I had a chance to talk to her. And I would very much like to talk to her. I'm going to make another attempt after the election to talk to her, to come in to the office to talk to her about her impressions and her thoughts, because she's been county attorney for, if not mistaken, at least 2 terms. And so she has a perspective. Some people agree with her perspective and some do not, but nevertheless, she's there. And it's not required that she meet with me if she does not. What I've done is I've already had lunch with the county attorney and his deputy in Missoula County. I basically told them that, look, we're adjoining counties. We're going to have issues together. I wanted to introduce myself because like in any profession, relationships between peers is absolutely vital. There are going to be times when they may need our help, believe it or not, and I want to offer it to Sanders County. I want to offer it to Missoula County. And at the same time, I'm alone here. I'm going to be operating without a net. I don't have any backup. I'm on call 24/7, 365, just like the sheriff is, and just like the folks in the highway patrol. So there may be times when I'm going to need help as well. So if the way things turn out, I'm not able to meet with Deb Jackson, I have gotten the names of some counties here in Montana, and I'm going to go on a self-funded road trip. Lincoln County. The current county attorney for Lincoln County used to be the county attorney here. That county's bigger than ours, but it's up on the border and it's rural. Also been told to get in touch with Red Lodge, county attorney in Red Lodge. The assistant county attorney down in Dillon has offered for me to come visit her. And the reason I want to do that is because the processes between jurisdictions is different, obviously. The laws are a little different. The code book in California is about this thick. The code book in Montana is about this thick. And the sentencing rules differ. And the charging standards differ. And it's important that there be some consistency between counties because we're going to have cases and things that cross over. And it's important that that I not learn 100% of the job. I don't want to walk in there in January and start from ground zero, knowing that I'm going to be having municipal court, I'm going to be having justice court and district court starting off right away. And I would prefer to have working knowledge of stuff like the internal computer systems that are used to charge cases. And Axon is the body camera system that our sheriff's department uses, but they also use it for report writing and transcribing the body cameras. The county attorney's office here actually does have access to it. That means that I will have access to it wherever on the planet I might be. So even though I might be out of town going to see my kid graduate from college, I can still review reports and body cameras if I'm in Ohio or if I'm in Philadelphia, where my oldest is about to start his master's program. So technology is something that even in Mineral County is something that can be leveraged, and it can multiply the ability to get work done. I know from talking to a lot of lawyers who practice in Mineral and Missoula counties that we have a huge backlog of cases, and that is something that's going to have to be dealt with as well. Unfortunately, because of the way the system in Montana is set up, there is not as much pressure to get cases to trial or resolved. In some states, there's a law that says you have to get somebody in custody to trial within 60 days. Done. And if it's a misdemeanor in custody, it's 30 days. We don't really have that here, which means that, especially if someone's not sitting in jail, there's no, as a defense attorney, I can tell you every continuance is a victory. If you don't have your guy, if your guy's not in jail, there is no rush to get the case done in most situations. And I'll tell you why. In cases involving violence, sexual violence, domestic violence, robberies, where you have human witnesses, you have human victims, those cases do not age well. They do not, because victims and witnesses want to see justice done, but they don't want to be living with the situation forever. And unfortunately, when you have a big backlog of cases, and it's not just here, it could be anywhere, the longer a case drags out, the more likely it is that you will have witnesses or victims that move away or die or forget or simply say, you know what, you guys have left me by the side of the road, I'm done. My priority in triaging the cases in the county attorney's office is that cases involving domestic violence, sexual violence come first. They have to. And that is because you have people at risk. You may have people within, because a lot of these cases involve within the same family group, you have victims and children at risk, and those cases just have to be addressed first. I can tell you that in dope cases, dope always comes to court. Dope results are always known. They're sitting in a computer. Guns that are seized are sitting in a locker. The gun cases and the dope cases aren't going anywhere. It's the cases that involve the individual victim, the individual witness that are important, and those are the ones I'll prioritize. Also, cases that involve child endangerment and cases that involve repeat DUI offenders. There are a lot, probably a majority of cases in which DUIs happen are a one-off mistake. That doesn't make them okay, but it makes them a little more understandable that someone may be at one of the bars and has a couple too many and gets pulled over. It's the repeat offenders that statistically are much more likely to do it again and much more likely to hurt or kill somebody in the process. Those people are going to get my special attention as well, because what we have, as you all know, is a lot of road and very few officers. And DUI accidents are often high speed with injuries, and now you have people injured by the side of the road, wintertime, it's snowing, and there may or may not be cell signals. If we can keep that person off the road, then we are saving lives in the process. So another point that I'd like to make is in talking to Missoula County people, our county has access to treatment courts. Our county has access to Veterans Court. Our county has access to DUI court, to drug court. They have an in-house diversion program for very minor first offense cases like head theft, where they will send a letter saying you need to do some community service and a theft awareness class, or you need to go to AA or equivalent and community service. If you do that within 3 to 6 months, we will not file a case. So those least serious cases, that person does community service to give back. That person gets help with the problems they have. And again, statistics have shown that it often helps prevent that circular coming back into the criminal justice system through the revolving door. Missoula County is, believe it or not, one of the big dogs in Montana. They have resources and programming that we can access, and we have not. So I sat at the top hat, and after I picked up my jaw off the floor, realizing that we had access to these resources, I asked him if Mineral County might be able to refer some cases to Missoula for those treatment courts. And he said yes. So what I can tell you is that not every case is a max term in prison case. There are some that are. But in a lot of situations, you're dealing with people that have wound up in the situation that they are in for a number of reasons. Job loss, loss of a loved one, an addiction, and then you wind up having a snowball effect. If you take the time to realize it, and if the case is not too serious, you have an opportunity to give that person an avenue to help if they're willing to take it, and you're going to have them perform community service to give back to the community that was harmed. To me, that helps, again, break that cycle. Because in a county this small and 5,000 people, this isn't the smallest county population-wise in Montana. There's some that are only 1,000. But in comparison to many counties in the United States, this is a tiny county, and we should not have the number of cases that we have here. And I want us to get back to the point where our justice system is going to be focused on those serious cases, those cases involving violence, those cases involving homicide, large amounts of drugs, and things like that. And using these other programs and avenues available to get people the help they need so that we don't have to see them again. I'd rather see them at the fair. I don't want to see them in court. I'd rather see them at Murdoch's in the parking lot. I can keep running into people. I don't want to see them in court. And if we can give them that opportunity, I want to take that and hopefully get that program up and running. I also, today's Sunday, on Friday, I had lunch with the Assistant U.S. Attorney for the District of Montana, a federal prosecutor. She handles all of the big gun and dope cases in this area of Montana, including Mineral County. Introduced myself to her to talk about, again, areas of mutual interest, because my experience has been, as a prosecutor, I would have to beg the feds to take big cases. And in Northern California, if you didn't have a ton of dope, literally, and hundreds of thousands of dollars of cash and a bunch of machine guns, it's very sexy when that happens. If it's not there, they don't take it. So the states don't have the hammer that the federal government has. The U.S. Attorney's Office here in the state of Montana, I'm pleased to report, is willing to get their hands into cases and to help. I can tell you, because you all, obviously, you don't know me yet, a lot of times when people are the lead prosecutor, they're this, they're that, there's a turf war, there's ego, this is my case, you can't have it. Coming into this county with the needs that we have, I'm happy to get whatever help I can get. And I can tell you that the United States Attorney's Office is going to help us. Customs and Border Protection, ATF, FBI, all are willing to help. But they have to know and be made aware of what's going on. So part of what I've been doing even before the election is to reach out to our partners, to introduce myself, to talk about opportunities to cooperate, to share information, and to share resources. My next step after the election will also to be reaching out to the Attorney General's office and to the Highway Patrol. As we were talking before the meeting started, the west end of the county has very sparse police protection, very sparse resources, even in the county that stretch as thin as ours. There was talk about things such as volunteer programs, reserve programs. There are opportunities for that. I've had long meetings with both Ben Banks and Sheriff Funk regarding issues in this county, including issues like that. Certification issues are a thing. Liability, police agencies don't want to walk into liability issues, but I think that there can be a way forward to see that we have extra eyes and ears that are trained in places like this. Because as I learned just now, the response time optimistically to a place like this is 40 minutes. Mm-hmm. I can tell you with absolute assurance, in cases involving a high degree of emergency and violence, 40 minutes is an eternity. Whatever's going to happen will be long done before the cops ever get there. So having an extra set of eyes and ears that might be able to get the warning or the request for help out sooner, can get the help going sooner, that may, again, save lives. Because none of us want to see crime go unpunished, and no one wants to see people get hurt. The problem is the county seat's Superior. The county population is weighted more west than east. That means that out of the 3 districts, the Western District is sort of the redheaded stepchild, and I don't think it needs to be that way. If we just put our heads together and find a way to get additional resources, be it volunteer or additional patrolling, I know that they're not fully staffed yet. None of the agencies around us are fully staffed yet. And I can tell you after talking to the folks in Missoula that they pay a whole lot better than Mineral County, which again for small counties is a huge challenge because you train somebody up and then you may lose them to Missoula County or Sheriff, or you may lose them to the Highway Patrol or DeBorgia. But to the extent that we can, we need to drop the ego. We need to drop the turf, or if there is one, and we need to reach out and work together to pool the resources, because I think that we can build a better community in allocating our money smartly, using technology wherever we can. My wife she's a credentialed teacher, but she also has written a fair number of grants, and I'll be looking to identify grants that will enable additional resources to come our way. I'm going to have what may turn out to be a long conversation with the commissioners regarding the county attorney's office, because this is not a job that one person can probably do real well. And I can tell you that I will have to prioritize felony over misdemeanor, and people who are maybe victims of misdemeanor crimes will not be happy about that, because to them, it might as well be a felony because their lives are impacted. But if I have a finite amount of resources of time, I'm going to have to put it towards the felony level cases. I do know that there are people that we might be able to hire that can help me clear the backlog. There are recently retired county attorneys and prosecutors that we can bring in. And I, again, am not shy about bringing in somebody who has a heavyweight experience, more within Montana than I do, to help clear the backlog and help show me the pits in the road that may be up ahead. But that's a conversation for the commissioners. Yes.
I would ask in that process that the public have some say, because you may have more than one choice. And not to be rude, but we don't want to hire one that has been a problem before. Is that a polite way to put it?
Are we talking about, is there a particular name?
Wally Congdon, please don't hire him.
Well, okay, Wally Congdon is not someone who's to be hired. Wally Congdon is currently employed as the assistant county attorney. Now, Wally Congdon is a half-time county attorney. And from my understanding is Wally Congdon only handles matters involving the commissioners. He very rarely handles cases involving, well, of late, again, I'm processing information that I've been told, he less often handles cases involving criminal stuff than he does civil. But at the same time, Wally, actually in that Brady hearing that we just had, I found out that Wally worked up in Lake County for quite a few years as an assistant county attorney there. He's been doing it a long time. So whether or not he wants to continue working, I don't know. It's a conversation that's going to be had with him when the time is right.
Please have it with the public is what I'm asking.
The way hiring decisions are not necessarily a democracy. At the same time, I have heard many things about what has gone on in this county attorney's office over the last several years. And I've heard wild tales. So there's going to be a conversation had with Wally fairly soon after the election to see what he wants to do. My concern is whether or not he is willing and or capable of handling a fair share of the criminal load so that I can focus on triaging the felonies. But at the same time, it wouldn't necessarily be fair of me to declare that I'm going to get rid of him when I haven't even talked to him. So he's currently employed. He's not somebody that I have to hire, but it is a conversation that he and I need to have because I do have concerns about it.
I just hope that the public gets to voice their concerns to you, because the civil law part of it is where the concern is, the people. There's plenty of video of his behavior for you to look at in commissioner meetings, and I think that our county could do better.
No,
and that's kind of the whole goal for this campaign seems to be we can all do better.
No, I've seen a few of those clips and talking about where the camera is positioned and where the camera's turned on and turned off. And I can tell you that I'm not really clear as to why in an open meeting that they be turned off. I think that once the meeting is gavelled into session, that it stays on. That has been my custom and practice in working in the civil side of things and dealing with public meetings, because the public meeting rules are such that you need to have it open. So I am going to be saying that this needs to be open, not closed. Now, as to every interaction that Wally's had, I haven't reviewed all of them. If you want to send me some clips, I'm happy to look at them. But at the same time, if I see and hear things that concern me about interactions with the public and whether or not meetings should be open or closed, because meetings can be closed, but they have to be for very specific reasons. Otherwise, they just need to be open, because sunlight's the best disinfectant. We're supposed to be transparent, and if you're not being transparent about meetings, then the trust gets eroded. We don't want things happening behind closed doors. Yes.
First of all, I respect your approach to make assessments for yourself before you start making changes. I think that's important. Can you explain to us how the hiring process for the deputy attorney would go? Is that somebody you would appoint? Is that someone the commissioners have to approve?
So the way that the hiring practice works is you have to fly, they call it flying the position. You have to post it.
Okay.
The first thing is to determine, is the position a half-time position or full-time? A half-time position is much less desirable for someone because it's almost certainly going to be somebody coming out of Missoula than from here. There are very few lawyers here. And of the lawyers that are here, there are very few that would want to work half-time. So half-time versus full-time, and then the amount of the compensation. Because I think the county attorney is $104,000, so it's not. I think it's $104,000, and the assistant county attorney is obviously less. But when you're comparing it to the fact that other county attorneys' offices need people that pay more, you're competing. So there's a published list of this is what the requirements are, and then the people put in their application and resume. Then those get reviewed by the department head, which would be me, and then there'd be an interview set up. And normally, interviews are done, in my experience, with one or two members of the county attorney's office, if there was one, but there's one. And then usually someone else. It could be a member of law enforcement. It could be a member of the community. And then there's an interview process. The decision ultimately is made by the department head and HR. There has to be background checks, which is done by law enforcement. Then HR weighs in as well. There isn't a public vetting process of employees, just like there aren't public vetting of sheriff's deputies or water department or roadworks. It's the same in the county attorney's office.
So my question was, would you have authority to make the decision, or do you have to include the commissioner?
Oh, okay. Sorry, I misunderstood the question. No, that's my decision. So if for some reason the commissioners have an issue with a particular person, there's going to be a specific reason for it. If they had an issue, almost certainly the background check would have revealed whatever the issue is. I'm not interested in taking on problems. I am willing to take on somebody who's brand new out of law school. My career has been about training as a prosecutor and a defense attorney. I'm fine training somebody. But I do not want to necessarily hire somebody, if at all possible, that has hopped and skipped between county attorney's offices, because that's usually a red flag that person may not get along well with others. They may not be somebody who is a good public speaker, because if you have somebody who cannot speak in public, how are they going to work with a jury? It's not going to play very well. And I've seen people who are book smart, who are amazing. They're absolutely amazing research and writers, and I knew a couple of them in law school, and they went into our mock trial class. It was ugly. It was ugly, because the law school I went to was about training trial attorneys. So I want somebody that is ready, willing, and able to go into court, pick up a file, and learn as you go, and somebody who's self-sufficient. And the commissioners are not interested in riding herd over that. Now, we had problems in the past revolving a whole bunch of drama going back to Sheriff Toth regarding hiring practices at the Sheriff's Department that wound up in a lawsuit, that wound up with the county attorney having veto power over hiring of sheriff's deputies. It was a huge mess, lawsuit, lots of money gets spent. That is all over. So whoever the sheriff is will make their hiring decisions. I may or may not be asked to be on the hiring board or the interview panel for them, and they for me. But the department head will make that decision. And if that person wants to talk to me about their candidate or me talk, I will probably talk to the sheriff about mine. Again, I'm working with a very small department, sheriff's department. We have to be able to work together. There are going to be times when they think that this is some amazing crime of the century, and I look at it versus what you have to prove. No. There may be some professional disagreement, and I've told both candidates that, look, I'm not a rubber stamp for anybody. My job is to ensure justice, and that if a person's rights were violated or the elements of the crime are not met, I will not file a case, period. And they understand that. But at the same time, I want input. I want input from the sheriff, from the highway patrol. The AG's office occasionally helps out in big cases. I'm happy, although they lost a ton of people when the new AG came in. and a lot of very experienced, very good trial attorneys went and left. So again, I may not be getting as much help from Helena as I might otherwise hope, but we're going to figure it out. Other questions? Yes, sir.
You might consider an additional code to get some more money directly to you and to the sheriff's department. When I took over the volunteer fire department here, there was not enough money coming from the county to run the place. They couldn't write a check, they were being sued, there were all kinds of little problems. So within about 2 weeks, I went to the commission and I said, I've been a politician for 2 weeks and I need to raise taxes, and it worked. Okay, but I mean, it went out for a vote. But I would think that a public safety additional tax would be very desirable. I have suggested it to previous people, but there's been no action.
Raising taxes is a very, very touchy subject, very difficult subject, especially in a county such as ours.
I did it.
You did it, and that's commendable. I first want to see the budget, not just the county attorney budget, but the overall budget, to see if money can be shifted around to take care of the needs that we have. I also know that at one point we had what are called victim witness advocates. These are people, some are paid, some are volunteers, that help the county attorney by staying in touch with victims and witnesses. They give referrals to professional services therapy and things like that for victims of crime. And they also stay in touch with these people to make sure they come to court, because the county attorney, again, is going to be very busy. You can't always be on the phone. For reasons that are unclear to me, the victim witness advocates went away, and then the MOU between the county attorney's office and sheriff's department went poof, and the grant with it. So we need to get the victim witness advocate system back, because again, that is good for ensuring that victims of crime get the help that they need, and also to ensure that they will continue to be available to testify truthfully to what they went through. But that's not the only grants, I think, that are out there. And in talking to the folks in Missoula, there may be an ability for us to apply to grants that will enable our defendants, our folks, to be getting treatment out there. So we basically do what are called piggyback grants to be able to get these people the treatment they need in the city that has much more resources than we do. So grant writing is part of it. I'm not saying that raising taxes is a terrible idea, but the tolerance of the population to raise taxes, based on my conversations with people around here, is somewhat less than zero.
You have to be able to sell the idea,
Oh,
which is a skill.
And I can sell the idea. The question is in what the tax would be, what the size of it would be, what it would be on, and how it would benefit the departments, the relative departments involved. But first, before I even consider the idea of even trying to raise revenue, I want to see if there's a way that we can do it through the existing budget process, because I haven't seen the full county budget yet, but there may be a way we put our heads together to shift money around to be able to get the resources.
Have you gotten a copy of the budget yet?
I have not. I actually asked for it and never got it. So
are you aware that it's available on the state website?
No, I didn't. I thought it was only on. Okay.
I'll give you my number after this, and I can send you the link.
Excellent. Yeah.
They have the county budgets and the county audits almost every year with
Right.
Montana.
Yeah, I remember Dwayne was talking about that they have some sort of audit each year, or it's a state requirement that it gets the budget. Gets
Yeah,
audited.
third party firm does the audit.
Yeah.
I have a copy of it.
Okay. Yeah. Reviewing budgets can be a dry, painful process, but it's important. It's a painful process. It is a lot, but at the same time, I want to see if there's a way that we can we can get the resources that we need to be able to take care of one. Because once the backlog is taken care of, I want to be able to do something that I've done my entire career, which is go into the schools. And I've talked to, I tag team with my wife, who's a social studies teacher, about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, the Fourth and Sixth Amendments, and talking about making good choices, about the fact that they are our future. Not everybody's going to be a YouTube influencer. Not everybody's going to be a TikTok star or is going to go to the NBA. We need engineers and scientists and doctors and teachers. And trying to ensure that kids understand that there are options. And the trades. Try to get a contractor these days. I've been waiting 5 months for a contract. It's crazy because they're busy. So getting into the schools, and no matter how busy I am, I'm going to try to make the time. I'm just making sure that kids that are about to go out into the world, that they're going to be part of something greater, that it's not just their phone. It's not their phone, and it's not their Insta account, that they're part of something bigger, and to make them want to be involved is something that's really important to me, because in raising, we've raised our boys to ask a lot of questions and to take interest in other people's lives and to live, to go out and experience things through somebody else's view. And it makes for a more empathetic person, and it makes for a more curious person, that they're not just sitting at home. So that's a little aside that I want to do, but first I got to get on top of the case.
So taxes and funding aside, is there anything that the general public can do to support your mission?
I know that there will be. First, what I'm going to do is get my arms around what is going on currently. And someone had asked me, I think it was John, the same guy had asked me about the Ninth Amendment. Just complete out. I haven't looked at the Ninth Amendment since law school, dude, but okay. Once I get my arms around it, I'm going to communicate what I've found. I may create a county attorney channel for the Facebook Messenger. Social media is toxic, and I've spent less and less time on it because of its toxicity during the campaign, and there's no reason for it to be. You can disagree with people and yet not be the way we see on these groups. At the same time, I think that there are a lot of people that may not be part of the group of 5 or 6 that are the most active but are viewing it. I'll use that as a communication platform to say, hey, this is what I found in terms of these are the cases out there. Here are the felonies, here are the misdemeanors, try and break it down. And then if I identify things that I can get some help with, then I'm not shy about asking. And again, I don't have such ownership in the office that I'm not willing to get help from other people. It's just I got to figure out the best way that the public might be able to help so that their time is not being wasted.
As a military spouse, it was very, very frustrating to watch the Army transition away from their unit websites to Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a Facebook account to interact and view most of that. Would you please consider a different platform such as the official website, maybe an email or something? Because a lot of people are trying to move away from social media, and I think that encouraging people to continue to interact on that platform may not be the best thing for the county's morale and unity.
Well, I can tell you from reading what I've read, and I did interact in the beginning just to try to convey some information based on what I've seen and what I'm seeing now. And a certain group of folks didn't receive it well. But what you're asking is basically doing a sub-site off the county website, and I would need to see if that is even possible. If it's not possible, then it's a question of cost of standing up something separately, because I won't have time to interact all the time, simply because.
Well, I don't even think I think it's more the transparency of having that reliable platform to disseminate information,
Mm-hmm.
maybe not receive information from.
Okay.
And because cost of a website, if you use
Like Wix or something like that?
yeah, I mean, it's nominal. You can do it for like $30 a year.
That's doable.
And you could probably get someone to run the thing for you as a volunteer.
Yeah, even if it's not open to comments or information coming in, just to get quality information out.
Yeah, because, and in just a second, the one thing that I have to point out is that there are limits about what the county attorney can talk about regarding specific cases. There are very, very clear, and although unfortunately at the federal level it's being ignored, but there is a very clear line that I cannot cross regarding information regarding current cases or cases that are within the appeal period. I know that there's been a lot of talk about a young woman who drowned under very concerning circumstances and whether or not that was handled and what all entailed from that. But cases that are current, I can't talk about, but what I can do is try to at least put a big picture viewpoint out, either through a website or something else. I also will offer to, because the commissioners, I think, want to hear more from the county attorney's office, but they haven't. I'm going to make a point of making myself available to the commissioners to talk about areas of concern. That is another public-facing part that the people can look in on. Because again, my job has elements of secrecy in the sense that when I review reports, they're confidential and victim information is confidential. But it's not like I'm running a nuclear weapons facility either.
Yeah.
And I don't want people to think that I'm unaccountable and that there's no recourse or understanding.
From talking to people in the community, it seems like the lack of understanding where that line is where a lot of the dissatisfaction comes from. So maybe even just communicating your limitations might be helpful.
I think that if we did it through whatever channel of communication, what I will do is there's going to be a pinned thread up top talking about what I can and cannot do so that people don't get frustrated that I can't answer that particular question. Or someone may have a particular gripe about a particular sentence in a particular case. Maybe they're upset with what I asked for, or they're upset about what the judge decided. I mean, the justice system is not, A, it's not perfect, but B, there are three parts to it: prosecution, defense, and the court. And that's the way the system was intended to work. And I may ask for something that I don't get. But at the same time, there may be people that invite me to criticize, and I'm not going to, because there may be a very good reason why a judicial officer makes a decision that I disagree with, but they had a reason for it. You respect that. You have to respect, A, you have to respect it, and B, that's your system. Because unlike in the Montana Territory, the sheriff was the law. And there was a prosecutor rolled in and got 12 people from a bar, and then they hung the guy 6 hours later. That was it. And he was unaccountable. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be perceived like that. But at the same time, people need to understand that things are not always going to be happening exactly as they expect, and I'll do my best to explain it. But it's not a perfect system. Yes.
So the system we currently have is West End has no access to the Mineral Independent newspaper where you would post job listings. We don't have a newspaper dispenser here on the West End, do we?
Oh, or you could have
You can subscribe and get it delivered.
subscribe to
They
it.
may. I get mine in my P.O. box.
Correct. So if you don't subscribe that way, you don't have opportunity on the West End to purchase it. You have no access to it other than a subscription ongoing.
Or electronic.
Correct, which is still a subscription ongoing.
Correct.
So there's a lot of people up here in their 70s and beyond that aren't on the computer and certainly not where they're going to subscribe to things like that.
Okay.
So the platform is, I think, where Jolene is trying to make this point is it's not about having a Facebook or a social media where you're going to engage with the public. Currently, we have nothing. We have no information from the county attorney. We can't see the court we can't see the court's day's activities or what's on the calendar, what is going to trial.
That's all public, but they're on websites that you have to know.
You have to go through the district court on Missoula's website in order to find that.
That's true.
Most people don't know that in Mineral County.
Can we just get a link on the
Okay.
And
So-
exactly, we've never had crime stats until the last 2 months. And what we get for crime stats are not really stats, they're just numbers put together on a page. Rosters for the jail. Most places I know, you can go online and you can look and see, did somebody get arrested? Oh, well, that's why they didn't come home last night.
Those are called jail booking logs.
Yeah.
The jail booking logs are public record, and I thought that the sheriff's website would have.
No,
They
we
don't?
have none.
Interesting. Okay.
No, we are lucky if the commissioners get the video out within a week. Sometimes they even don't get it out because the commissioners aren't doing it. They hand it off to the clerk recorder. Anyway.
So,
I think it's a platform versus distribution. I don't think the real public that really wants to know cares about Facebook and commenting. They
no, I
want to
got it.
know that they can go to a reputable website and get the information they want. And was that person convicted? Or was that case dropped? They don't need you, and I don't expect you to explain that decision. That's what court records and public records are for, and we call the clerk for that.
So there is someone who works in the county attorney's office who's the receptionist who can look stuff up, as can the court when you call them.
The clerk across the hall is very good about getting the public records when asked. No problem.
Okay.
But the resolution of cases, if you don't know the specific name of the case, sometimes it's hard, as opposed
That'll
to
make it hard to
looking.
look up too.
Yeah.
So to answer the first question, let me ask you this: is the DeBorgia Schoolhouse as a community center a place where folks in the community gather most often as far as getting information?
No,
Which is?
the post office between 10 and noon.
They have a court for it.
They have court for it.
Mm-hmm.
So what my idea would be be to publicize it and get it to somebody here to put on the board.
Yeah, so the court boards across the county are heavily utilized. People go to them routinely for information. So just a thought for you, if you ever did want to reach the general public, the post office, billboards, the one at Darrow's,
The one at the hideout,
those are really great ways to reach the public.
those are the ways to really reach our public, because everybody at the post office, they now have a very large one inside, and that's where you get the information about commodities
Yeah,
and
I think your points about
Senior
technology are well taken, but we also want to continue to utilize remote text options because that's what people are used to.
especially on this end. I mean,
Okay.
it's
See, it's another reason
We
why
don't
I came,
trust
because I did
technology,
not
do we?
realize that was, okay. So that's easily solved by just getting the information out and can be put on the court boards.
and working with the schoolhouse. The schoolhouse has their meetings once a month. They're a good resource for getting this information out. It's kind of like a nicer version of a telephone game. It's less gossip and more, did you know that this is happening on this day?
So what I would need would be a list of names and email addresses to get the information to them so they could get to the right boards.
We'll give you Christy and Lynette.
Because that way we could just I could do a PDF that goes out, you just hit print.
We have a board. We can get you in touch with that board.
Yeah, and that way the people that consume their information at the community boards can do it that way.
And those are also the same people that you would be hopefully reaching out to help us build up the neighborhood watch. Those are exactly the people that put us together for those kinds of things, Bruce especially, but we got to have a little support from law enforcement and the county attorney's office to do that.
Last note on the billboards, the senior center billboards are heavily viewed.
Yes.
Senior center, the library, post office.
Which, by the way, we have a 24-hour library here too as well.
We do that. We do. My daughter enjoyed it.
So one of the things when you were, one of the,
24-hour library.
right there, that building right there is open 24/7. It's a library.
Okay.
Never paid attention.
Yeah, that was
When you
Susan.
spoke about mutual aid, working with other counties.
Right.
One of the biggest things that I think gets forgotten because it's a different state is Shoshone County. And when we've had some pretty violent things happen in the last couple of years, they've come over the county line, they've come over the state line. And the working relationship with that side of Idaho seems to be reactionary. And I hope that we can build that so that we can get good mutual aid.
There are a number of hurdles because you're crossing state lines as to what can be done, how it can be done, when it can be done.
We know
So-
it can be done. We've seen it being
And I
done
agree
out
with
there.
you, but in terms of the sheriff's departments have a mutual aid agreement. And I would think that the fire departments through the Forest Service perhaps
We
do as
did it,
well.
actually, I set up a mutual aid with our neighbors next door, and it worked extremely well. We did a bunch of training together, but that has died.
These have to be renewed with every new.
And
You have to have
that's,
somebody willing to do it.
there is a mutual aid county attorney to county attorney because we're dealing with completely different sets of codes. So it would be something that once the election is over,
Yeah,
finally, and we know who the various office holders are, then it's a matter of touching base with that person, and that's something that I would touch base with the either the current sheriff or the incoming sheriff to talk about ensuring that we have good contacts and communication with Sanders and with Shoshone and with Missoula, because those are our neighbors, and we have helped both. We've helped all of them in the past, and hopefully they will help us. But for you all, it's more Shoshone than anything.
it
Because
is.
they're frankly closer and faster than Superior.
When we have search and rescue, oftentimes Shoshone County or even Kootenai County are here before Missoula County. And we've had Forest Service coming from Idaho when we've had, bad guys out in the woods that they're looking for. Shoshone County has come down the dirt roads from Idaho to make sure that, they're not
Yeah.
going out that way. So
Yeah.
I hope to see those mutual aid agreements continue immediately because things
Well, I
happen
know,
fast.
I think our sheriff just got recognized over in Shoshone County. So I think they have a mutual aid agreement in place now.
That's a different sheriff now. Than
Oh, different
what-
sheriff over there now?
Yes,
Okay.
than what was in December when that happened.
Okay, so that'll be a conversation that'll be had once the election is over, because I think that mutual aid agreements are, my experience with mutual aid agreements, or the lack thereof, were with the fires in 2017 and 18 in Northern California. Entire section of my city was destroyed. Part of it, including our home when we almost died, part of the problem was there was not a lot of communication between Napa County and Sonoma County. The fire started in Napa County, and by the time Sonoma County knew about it, the fire had already raced over the line, fueled by high winds, and then it completely wiped out 6,000 homes and killed dozens of people. And since that time, mutual aid was completely overhauled, CAL FIRE being the lead agency, communications resources, aircraft, you name it. But it took dozens of deaths and thousands of homes lost for that lesson to be learned. I'm hopeful that the issue here, I think, is less dire, simply because there has been a history of helping back and forth. We just need to make sure it's current and that the communication line is open. Like, you're going to hear me throughout the time I'm in office talking about communication, because if you have it, things happen. And if you don't have it, it's just bad, and things don't happen.
In a small operation like this, and the same next door, the personal relationship.
Absolutely.
You go buy the guy a drink and say, hey, let's get this moving. Yeah. The what?
No, it's why I've reached out
My wife
to,
tells me I have to be careful with girls.
it's why I reached out to the people in Missoula, because if you don't have that relationship, then you're not going to, if you need something, they're not necessarily going to be as inclined. Whereas if I reach out to them, we establish a relationship, I offer to help whenever I can, because I think that the U.S. Attorney's Office, they have only one case now with Mineral right now. It had to do with that truck stop fracas involving dope and illegals and all sorts of different stuff. But having that good line of communication, even if it's getting together for lunch once a month, it ensures that when something hits the fan and time is compressed and blood pressure goes up, that you have people that have your back. And that's going to be true within the Montana community. In terms of search and rescue and law enforcement, Shoshone and Kootenai have to be part of the discussion because they're closer to you guys than Missoula is. So I would think that that's something that's easily solved, and I'll do whatever I need to do to help facilitate that if it's necessary.
And it's not just Montana Highway Patrol that we need to be in communication with. It's the Montana Safety Vehicle Inspection. I'm not sure if I said that correctly.
Motor carrier
The commercial motor carrier guys.
Right.
Yeah.
So they deal with a lot of trafficking and drug stuff. So
Well, they often are the first.
So we need to make sure we have good communication with them and have a professional relationship with them also.
So there's a task force that sometimes has been operation. I'm going to ensure that if it hasn't been, it will be. It's a multi-agency task force. It's going to involve the Sheriff's Department, the Highway Patrol, motor carrier, and then the feds. And the feds rotate people through. It's going to involve Customs and Border, it's going to involve ICE, Customs and Border, and ATF primarily. Because again, the highway is the main artery of all that stuff. At the same time, there are protocols to be followed to make sure that it's being done the right way, to make sure that the stops are being done legally and the encounters are legal as well, because you don't want to wind up with a lot of work being done and then you get the reports and everything and okay, there's a huge issue with the search.
Right.
So everybody be on the same page. But task forces, I was involved in our drug task force for many years as the lead prosecutor. Crazy stuff. But that interagency work, when ATF came in with their mobile lab truck to a clandestine methamphetamine lab in a place that looks very much like this, and they're pulling out hundreds of gallons of toxic chemicals and hundreds of gallons of methamphetamine, it makes you feel good getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to raid this place to rid that much toxin from the community. Mm-hmm. I know that they have task forces. My job is going to be ensuring that we're doing it as much as we can, understanding that it will increase our caseload, but the U.S. Attorney's Office is going to be there to help us on the bigger ones. Yes.
Reflecting on situations from the past and your comment about you kind of being your department being one man deep, if there ever were a situation where you felt like you had to recuse yourself from a case, what would that process look like?
So I actually thought about that. Because I, like many people, I live out on acreage and, we're on our own and say something happens and I have to shoot somebody. I don't want to shoot somebody, but if I have to shoot somebody, what happens then? The way it works is that Missoula County will handle any case involving me as a witness or a victim. That is something that already is happening because of their staffing. They have a very good staff over there. They're very well tight ship run on. They're good office. They would handle that case in cases of conflict of interest. I have not yet met the county attorney for Sanders County yet, but Missoula is not very far from the west end of our county. East end of our county. The stupid software update in my car, everything is turned around. I haven't been able to turn it around yet. So Missoula County would take over. And any type of conflict of interest, like say if there's an officer involved shooting, that winds up being the responsibility of either DCI, attached to the Attorney General's office, or Missoula primarily. So that way, because I don't want to do anything to compromise the righteousness of any case. So if I'm a witness or a victim, it's going to be them. And I would when I call dispatch, I would tell them. And they can get a hold of them and they'll get somebody out. But it is something that's happened. One of our prosecutors in Sonoma County was assaulted in the parking lot by a defendant, violently beaten. And it was a horrible situation. And he was doing his job, he did it well. But, you know, in society, people walk out of secured buildings and all of a sudden he confronted him in the parking lot and beat him. So then you have to they brought in prosecutors from Napa, from another county, and they had to prosecute the case. It's the same idea. So there are systems in place to make sure that sort of stuff is taken care of. And then in cases involving crimes that happen on federal land, then it's a question, because it's concurrent jurisdiction, of who is going to take it. Depending on the type of crime it is, I will probably pick up the phone and have them take it, because again, it's just me. And at least early on, I want to be focusing on taking care of what we have on our plate now. So, any other questions? Yes?
I think I have a question.
Okay.
You commented that you were going to look at repeat offenders.
Mm-hmm.
What about repeat defenders? I'm
Repeat
like,
defenders.
and I'll explain. My family tends to be one of the unluckiest in the area.
You mean as far as
Victims.
being on the wrong end of a crime?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. And in the last 6 years since I moved out here, we've had at least 4 that the current county attorney has dropped. And
Filed and dropped, or just never filed?
2 have been filed. 1 has been dropped. The other one actually went through, and the other person was found guilty, and that one was fine because he was a repeat offender. But the other 3, the one that she actually officially dropped in court, and the other 2 she never filed at all. It was because one's a school teacher, one's a post officer over here. One, my husband and I are self-employed. We're big little fish in a big pond. And I guess these people have more, status in the area. And so we get dropped.
So here's my take on it, because I actually was asked this by the Mineral Independent Reporter regarding things like that. There's an advantage for me being someone new to the community. I don't care who the offender is. It doesn't matter to me. Whatever happened, if there is a factual basis for a crime and the elements are met, they get charged. Where things get tricky is, again, it's going to be communication, because I'm a one-man shop. If there's something that happens in a case where, like, you're a victim, there's something happens where the case legally went sideways, you're owed a phone call,
Right.
or an email or something to say this is what happened and why. Or in a situation, say you're the victim of a burglary, not of your home but of a shed, that some things got taken, things like that. There are ways that those cases can be resolved other than prison, depending on the person's record and all that sort of stuff. At the same time, you have a right. This is where victim witness comes in. You have a right to be told. Now, there is not as much of a statutory right as there is in California, but to me, what I intend to do is import those things from the California code in my head, victims' rights being one of them, that you should be told. I don't want you to find out second or third hand while you're at the grocery store that your case got done. That's not right. It's not fair. So those phone calls are not fun. I've had to make a few where obviously the person was traumatized for what happened to them, but at the same time, we couldn't prove it was that person, and for whatever reason. And I'm using an example from my past as a prosecutor, that everybody was sure it was that guy that did it. Well, being sure it's that guy that did it and seeing the guy do it, or fingerprints or DNA or a ring camera or something like that, we have to go based on evidence, and it's not an emotional based decision. It's a legal based. that doesn't translate well for somebody who was victimized. But at the same time, respect demands that you be told.
Right.
So my intention is on cases like that to do all I can to keep people informed and that they can reach out and they can, for example, people have a mixed relationship with email. A lot of junk email, all that stuff. At the same time, email is something that you can read again. It's there. You can share with your family. I email a lot simply because it puts me on the record in writing. This is what's happened and why. And that is one method of communication that I intend to do with people who are victims because they have a right. Because cases, sometimes they move quickly and sometimes some things come together. There may not be time to go and vet everything. You're not required under law to get permission from a victim. But at the same time, consulting with them is important in my mind. There may not be time to do that. But if not, then what I'm going to do after the fact is this is what happened and why. So you may or may not be satisfied with the reasons why, but at least you have been told so that you can get some closure.
Right.
And you get some understanding that the system worked in some way, shape, or form. So, and I think that when you're alone in an office, communication can be hard. But at the same time, you all didn't do anything to bring about having a county attorney operate alone. And you didn't do anything to bring about being the victim of crime. You were a victim of a crime, and you have a right to be protected. My job is to protect you, period. And I will do everything I can to protect you, but there are times where I may not be able to do it to the extent that you might want. Totally fair. And you have a right to vent. That's also fair. And again, people in my position don't like doing that simply because it's hard. It's hard being yelled at. Sometimes people do. And it's hard for people to be disappointed in you or think less of you. Well, it's my job. And doing the thing that I think is legally right may not square with what people think is morally right. But at least you have the right to know. And that's what I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that that happens. I've got to figure out a way I can do it efficiently because of the number of cases versus the fact it's just me and plus we have court and stuff like that. I'll find a way, and the way is going to be technology based. I'm spending a lot of time with technology. I'm pretty good at it, and I will use it to get information out to people in your position and also in general. A website would be a great idea. I was not coming here thinking about community boards. Community boards are not on my radar. I am happy to bang out a report regarding things. Doing it by district might be challenging, but there are probably going to be a few notorious cases out west that may be of interest to you all, that you want to know what went down when it goes final. I can do that.
You put it on a main board, like the county website or part of the county website. The rest of the distribution process will happen organically based on how the community unfortunately does use Facebook because it's the most convenient and the ones older folks can attach to without having to be trained at a college level.
Yeah, I'm not married to any particular form of technology and communication because more communication is frankly better. And we'll find a way to get the information out there so that people that want to find out what's going on can find out about it without hiking to Superior.
These boards, you can send it by email, and I know we've got 3 boards up here, the fire department, the community resources line, and the post office. And any one of those 3 are more than glad to print it themselves and put it on the board. It's not like you've got to mail them or anything. Free.
Then what's going to happen is once I get my arms around what is going on in the office in terms of the number of cases, I'll also try and break down the cases by type so that the community knows a very 35,000 foot view. This is what's going on. And this is what I'm going to be doing to address it, because there are a lot of times, and it's not just here, but there are a lot of times cases are filed as felonies that may not be felonies. There are sometimes cases that are filed that can't be proven. Or there are cases that are filed that can be resolved for whatever reason hasn't. I have talked to several defense attorneys that I intend to get them all in a place to talk about our own lines of communication, because the system only works with communicating with defense attorneys. You're adversarial. They advocate for their clients as I've been advocating for mine. I get that, but at the same time, in most of these cases, we know who did it. We know what happened. It's just a question of what the result should be. You figure it out. And I've talked to JP candidates about something that is a little foreign to Montana called chambers conferences, where you, during the break, you go in and you sit down with the defense attorneys, and you may be close to resolving something, but you're not quite there. Get some input from your judicial officer, or possibly an idea of a resolution. Anything that you can do to fairly reduce the number of pending cases so that those that are serious and need to go to trial have the time. And I don't mean to harp on it because I'm sure there's a good reason for it. There's not going to be seatbelt tickets going to trial. The seatbelt violations are when you pull a car over and then the officer makes observations. Maybe they smell alcohol, or maybe they look like they're stoned, or maybe there's a gun sticking out, whatever. I have never seen a seatbelt case go to trial. We have a very limited jury pool. We have a very limited number of court days available, and I want those to be available for the cases that really need it. Repeat DUIs being one. The misdemeanor level is going to be domestic violence. It's going to be child endangerment or abuse. And the felony level, it's going to be homicides, domestic violence, sexual assault, big dope cases, felony DUIs. We have to prioritize. And I will do what I can to do that. And that means getting everybody in the room, defense attorney-wise. We're going to be beating up some heads. We're going to beat people over the heads. They're going to beat me over the head. We're going to figure it out, because that's how the system works. And then my hope is over time, I can report back to the community boards that the number of pending cases is going to start coming down. We're going to report how many cases have been referred to my office, how many have been reviewed. Some have been sent back for more investigation. Some have been filed. Some have not been filed. All those numbers will be there. In terms of a community meeting like this, county attorneys, district attorneys don't have them that often. Nationwide, they just don't. I'm not opposed to them. That's something that we can certainly talk about doing within the confines of what I'm allowed to talk about. But I don't want people to feel like, even though you've chosen to live in a beautiful area that is isolated, I don't want you to feel like you're not part of everything else, and that there are people here, out in Superior and beyond that care and want to help as much as we can to make your community safer. Yes.
So one of the other things, and I'm not sure that we're wanting, a news update monthly, although
You're not going to get 1 month. I
Although
probably won't have the time to do
the sheriff's candidate has said that he would like to do that. That would be an awesome opportunity. But one of the things I think that our community on this end that has benefited from the human trafficking class, when they have physically brought up the class and had human trafficking awareness and prevention. And I think especially on the West End, it is vital if we can get access to more crime prevention and crime awareness things. Our first alert, or our alert 911 system, which is when we had somebody in the community that was a bolo out and they told people to lock down. We've changed that 3 times in 4 years, which system we're using. And those weren't getting pushed out. And at 6 a.m, when you go out to get wood and you find out after the fact that there was an armed man in your neighborhood, those kinds of communication, I think, are a lot of what I would think would be good for your department to have access to or provide or assist us in getting out here.
So I'm almost certain, and I haven't looked into this yet, but I'm almost certain that sort of information would be online certification, online information to be able to share with the community first and foremost in the interest of speed. Beyond that, it's going to take me sitting down with the sheriff and possibly with the highway patrol commander as far as how best to implement things like that. Because again, they're dealing with a lack of people. And so having people being able to come out here, in-person trainings will be challenging simply because we don't have enough people.
It was literally the DOJ that put together that human trafficking program class, and they held it up here for law enforcement, but it was a class for the public.
Oh, okay.
So we were all allowed to be there. It was not just for law enforcement, not just for public. It was literally put on by the DOJ.
So I really like that, because what this sounds to me like is there's something called POST, Peace Officer Standards and Training. And POST classes are usually only attended by law enforcement as part of their ongoing training requirements and various things. The ones that I've been to usually were focused on child sexual assault, homicide, and major narcotics. Public has never been involved in the ones I've seen. That is a great idea simply because having those open to the public gives you some insight about what it is that they are looking for as cops in the community, that gives you guys the ability to add an extra set of eyes. And again, when it comes to alerts, there's going to need to be some sort of reckoning to make sure that everybody's on the same page about the kinds of alerts, when they're issued, how they're issued, getting it out to the most number of people possible.
And maybe even how to use it, which is more of a sheriff's department issue, I understand. But it could be a side quest for a dispatcher or for a deputy to just teach a 20-minute class at each senior center of how to use this alert system and why you should use it. If we got an incoming fire, your phone's going to tell you before anybody else does. So
yeah, no, and I think that's a good idea. And those classes don't necessarily need to take a lot of time, but they can get the job done. And then those people can in turn, because they'll be hopefully given some materials too, they can in turn become trainers for others.
Yes, or teach the grandchildren and they can teach the rest of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Information, communication.
You can't have too much of it. You cannot.
Some of the codes, I guess, within our county are really lax. Are you going to, what are you going to do?
Which code?
I want to say the the vicious dog ordinance is a joke.
So what I need to do is I need to look at the county ordinances themselves. Again, put it up against what they do have state level ones, but they also have county ordinance level ones. And it really depends on, the triggering events that trigger a response by law enforcement and what they can do given situation, what you can do given a situation. I've lost, because this question's come up before, again, in Murdoch's. And the solution is something's going to get shot and it's just going to get buried.
Right.
Like, okay, well, if you're proposing to shoot somebody's dog right outside their fence, there may be somebody who has something to say about it. They have it, and you have it, and now it becomes a whole new thing. So what you're saying, it's a joke because it's too lax?
We don't have one.
No, we actually do.
No, the commissioners never signed it to become an actual ordinance. It was sent back from the county attorney's office. Yes, they're still not now signed. That was the last I heard. I had not heard that it got signed and is an actual ordinance.
That was to deal with the 2 cases that actually went to court for me.
They were literally...
One was an attack on me, one was an attack on my livestock. The one with the livestock, we shot and killed 2 of them on our property. Done deal. But there was something that there's an ordinance in place to protect the livestock, but not enough to protect myself. So it was like, whoa. And she told me
if
that
you're being attacked by somebody's dog, you shoot dog.
I didn't have even keys on me. I didn't have anything.
Okay.
And so that one she released and she left it so it can come up. And I can't get an attorney to return the call.
In terms of suing them?
Yeah. I have medical bills, I have PTSD counseling, I have everything. And I have text from him admitting fault, I have witnesses, I have so much. And I can't get anybody to actually file a suit against him.
Did he offer to take care of the medical bills?
Yes. And he also said his dog had shots and it didn't. Nothing got taken care of. I'm still sitting on stuff.
This is common in Monroe County. You are egregiously violated and you cannot get an attorney that will come to Monroe County. My own attorney said I wouldn't touch a case in Monroe County if you paid me double. There are so many attorneys, even just a divorce, they won't touch. Don't even get involved in a civil case.
And that one I did have the victim's advocate help with, and I had communication, but it just got dropped
So the
because there was no ordinance.
So the vicious dog ordinance was adopted, officially adopted July 2024.
That's what I thought.
In Monroe County?
Yes, but it doesn't have enough fight. It does not have
That
enough
must
fight
be
in
a
it to
change
go
from
after
the
him.
one in 2022 that they didn't
Right.
end up signing.
There
They
was a
changed it
resolution.
again.
There was a resolution, but it has been
See,
passed.
it's the confusion alone that makes it difficult to enforce when it was one thing.
Mhm.
Now it got signed as something different and the public doesn't even know which
And
one it
there's-
is.
Yeah, I was not the only case with this particular dog and the owner.
Is this dog still around?
Yes, and released regularly within St. Regis on the main street with kids. And the authorities are aware of it. That dog's been reported numerous times, but yeah. There is, I know several instances within Superior where you have vicious dog attacks. There's just nobody's protected. There's one lady out in Tarkio, Loso area, that vicious dogs came and attacked her horse while she was riding on it. Horse got impaled. She was in the hospital for several days with broken ribs and pelvic and everything. Nothing.
So I'll look at that ordinance.
Mm-hmm.
If the ordinance is weak sauce, then that's something that needs to be revisited because I have a sore spot concerning horses because we have several, and when I ride, I ride armed, even though I know that I get one shot and my horse is going to be off in the next
Yeah.
planet. But at the same time, when you're on a horse, you're very vulnerable, and if you're walking, minding your own business unarmed, you're vulnerable, and
Yep.
no one should be worried that they're going to be attacked by a dog. It's just,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. So. Any other questions I can answer for you guys? How about you?
To set, you spoke about we have a lot of miles of roads and being the high traffic
Oh, yeah.
corridor. Please remember that we have just as many on the dirt roads and that we have a lot of issues on the dirt roads, and deputies and Forest Service are not always interchangeable with ATV season and snowmobile season. Both there is DUIs that go constantly.
You're going to run where you will encounter this problem all the time, that you have 2, maybe 3 law enforcement officers on duty at any one time max. And then they're almost always going to be exclusively on the paved roads because that's where most of the traffic is. So if somebody is ATVing drunk as a skunk up here in the hills, they're not going to know about it until something bad happens. And then it's a reactionary thing where if the drunk driver survives, he's going to be charged, but that may mean somebody else is going to be hurt. Drunk ATVing to me is no differently than a one-ton pickup. And even more so because in ATV you have less protection. And if you have someone on the back and you roll it, that person is toast. I've
Just
seen a ton of
4
those
years
cases.
ago on Labor Day weekend, we had 2 ATV accidents on the same weekend and both were fatal.
Yeah,
One on the pavement and one off the pavement, but
there is not an easy answer to patrolling unpaved areas of this county because this county is not necessarily a huge county by comparison to most Montana counties, but it is vast. And it's vast because the population's so small and the number of cops is so small. So I wish there were a way to do it. There aren't drones out there that can do it yet. There may be someday, but for now, all we can do is PSAs and word of mouth.
And play the odds.
Well,
Weekend,
human
Memorial Day,
behavior is
Labor
human
Day
behavior,
weekends,
and
yeah.
we've all seen dumb over and over again when it comes to motor vehicles and ATVs. And I have talked to my boys until I'm blue in the face about wearing helmets. And if either one of them have had a beer, they're not on my ATVs. They're not on my horses. They're not in the car. It's just because I spent many years going out to scenes looking at body parts because of rollover ejections with no seatbelt sort of situations. I will never forget those. And I don't want those to be one of my family. I don't want to be responsible for one. I don't want other people to suffer those either. At the same time, Montanans drink a lot. Not as much as Wisconsin. Wisconsin, no one's close to Wisconsin, but the amount of drinking in Montana is pretty high. And the roads are long and vast, and it's going to happen. What I can do is that on repeat offenders, there's going to be pressure applied to incarceration, community service, and treatment, and taking away their licenses. And because you have a limited number of tools. And if they continue to offend and they pick up their fourth, I'm not going to be sympathetic to treatment by that time, most likely simply because they put themselves and their addiction ahead of the rest of us. And that's too high of a risk. And I'm going to be very clear about that with the defense attorneys and with courts, simply because I've seen the statistics. It gets worse and worse the more DUIs a person gets, and the level of alcohol goes up, and then they kill someone. You can't undo that. So let's try and stop it earlier, or we need to hammer them later. Our jail's pretty small, but I will find room for them if that's what they decide to do. So.
We've already talked, so I don't have any questions.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, we had a lot.
Yeah, we had a 2-hour conversation. So I appreciate your time, on a Sunday afternoon. Even though I'm not running opposed, I appreciate you guys coming out. The ideas regarding the community boards is really a great thing to hear. And I do want the email addresses because I'm going to find out a way to do that. And I'm sure that the Superior and the other communities have something similar so that I can get information out more quickly and more thoroughly so that people understand there's stuff going on that's actually possible, that things are getting done, that your tax money is not being wasted. So, great.
Yes, it was excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm happy to finish my career wearing a white hat again. I as hard as that job was, I've missed it, and this is
A government person gets a white hat?
get a white hat. White for justice. So yes, at least I call it that. So yes,
Thank
absolutely.
you, Roy, for your time.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.